Beginning to learn lighting with a flash can be really difficult. Constant lights are far easier to learn lighting with because you can see it. In fact, it's how I learned lighting back when I was on film sets. Not only that, today video is becoming almost as popular as still photography, so a constant light as your first light can be a really good choice. Let me tank up with a cup of coffee here, and I have a light I will recommend to you as maybe a good starting point for your lighting kit. Welcome to the channel, Hayward here. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different this year. This is the first video of a series that I'm going to do about learning to light from ground zero. Now, if you already know how to light, I hope maybe you'll be able to pick up a couple of tips during this series. But from what I've been hearing in comments, people have some questions and they're at all skill levels. So I figured out people can pick what they want out of the information at whatever level they are. The other thing I realized is that learning with Flash is fairly challenging. I mean, professionals teach each other with Flash, but most of you probably aren't professionals. And the truth of the matter is I learned with constant lights on film sets. So I'm going to go back and teach you the way I learned from ground zero. And to start that journey, the first thing you do is you need to pick a good light to start your kit and build it around. So what I'm going to do, it's a little bit different, is I'm going to be a beginner with you. I'm going to choose a light that I am new to as well. So I'll be learning right along with what I'm teaching. Now, how did I choose what I'm doing? Well, I've been, looking at constant lights a lot, as probably most of you do too, looking at photo equipment. And I saw this Zhyun light with the very flat form factor, the MOLUS G200. And I looked at it, and I, of course, looked at it in pictures and on the internet, and it just looked interesting. And I really liked that flat form factor, and it looked pretty well built. So I thought to myself, man, I'd really like to have one of those. And I was fortunate enough that Zhyun contacted me. I get a lot of people contacting me about the channel, asking if I'd like to test it out. So here we are. I've got the Zhyun G200, and we're going to go through why I think it's a good starting point for your lighting journey. First, let me just give you a quick introduction overview to the light itself. Okay, this is the basic unit. It's very flat and narrow. This is one of the biggest things that I loved about this unit. It has a really large fan on the back. We'll probably be talking more about that later. It is a basic cob light, as you can see. It has a Bowens mount. Very important to me because all my modifiers are Bowens mount. The unit actually comes with a fairly deep parabolic reflector focuser. It's very deep. It's going to throw a very focused beam. In order to power the light, you have a separate power supply, which also has a very large fan. The theme with this unit is cooling and I think ruggedness. Again, I'm just starting with the unit, but it does seem fairly well built. So you've got the flat power head and the power unit that you're going to hang on your light stand. This is the connector from the power unit into the light head. Very simple. It is a proprietary connector. Okay, once connected, this is where your controls are to power the light, the on-off switch, and the power and color temperature switch are all right on this power supply. One of the features I liked about this light is it's basic. Power, color. I like that. No fancy menu systems. You just turn it on and you've got your brightness. Let me turn that brightness down just a touch there. So as you can see, as you turn the power, you've got power and you've got, let me move my hand across the top. You've got color temperature changing here as you adjust this one. There is what they call a max mode, where you press both buttons and the unit will go to 300 watts. Okay, we're in max mode at 300 watts, but the color temperature is fixed at 4300 K. That's the downside of max mode. Okay, now let me bring up something here I think is kind of important. Neither the fan on the power unit nor the fan on the main unit have run yet in my test, but I'm going to try and make them run here at some point to see how loud they are. Okay, I have had the unit running on high power for some minutes, 100%, not max, 100%, and the fan in the head is running. I don't know if you can see it. I, with my microphone, am standing 1 foot away from the unit, and I'm going to be quiet for a second here. I don't think you can hear it. So for video recording, this seems to be a darn quiet fan. That's the basic features and functions of the light. And all the features I'm talking about are the features that made me choose the light. It probably does a few other things. I think it has some other modes in terms of light patterns and stuff. I could care less about all that. What I care about the most is you got a intensity control and a color temperature control. That's all that really matters to me, and I think when you're trying to learn lighting, that's all that should matter to you. Yes, it's an electrical unit. The reason I'm saying this, and I know batteries are much more convenient, but this unit has a lot of power. It's 200 watts with a possibility of 300 if you're okay with the color temperature. That's a lot of light, and I think that's really important so you don't have to run that ISO up or open your lens wide open. Those tie your hands. You don't want to have to do certain things when you're trying to learn lighting or photography, right? You want to have options, and the more power in your light, the better. Now, in other lights in the future, we'll talk about battery options, but for your main single light that you're probably going to be using indoors, electric's not bad because the form factor of the unit, right? Does that make sense? Now, a light to me is no good with just that reflector. That's nice. It's a very powerful, hard reflector. I'm not going to just use that. It has a place. We'll talk about it in future videos, but I need some kind of softbox modifier. You can, of course, put an umbrella on this. I like a softbox, and so I've also got the matching Zhyun softbox that goes with this head. Because it's got the Bowens mount, you do not have to choose this accessory, but let me demonstrate and show you this piece of kit, and then we'll talk about it a little bit more. Okay, I've also got the Zhyun 60D softbox, which I think it's 24 inches. I'll put the specs on the video. It is a fairly well-built softbox. When I first pulled it out, I kind of liked the quality of it. It has all the ribs snap into place. You can release all the ribs separately. That's great. I only have one concern about this. These, the actual ribs, the material is very thin on these wires. I got it together. It works, but day in, day out, I hope that they hold up. As softboxes go, I like it. Like I said, the ribs are rather thin on it. But otherwise, it's a Bowens mount. It's pretty good. It does the job. It has deflectors, grids, the whole nine. That's what I require in my modifiers. Okay, let me mention one thing about this. There's a knob right here, to adjust whether or not the softbox can spin when it's mounted, right? You expect that. You tighten this knob down and the softbox is going to be held in place. For a softbox, I don't think that matters because it's round. If it was a strip light, that would matter. But when you tighten this down, it tightens pretty good. However, you're going to have some really fairly good grip. When you put this on here and turn it, it clicks in. And when it clicked in, it also turned that inner ring because it's really tight. There's a pressure to apply the mount into the head. It's spring-loaded. And that's good, except when you try and take this off, you almost have to bang it to get it off. Maybe minor nitpicky, but out the box, I'm fine with it. Let me see how over time this mounting point wears because it's so tight. It could be good that it's tight, that it will wear longer, or bad that it's tight, that it will wear out. we'll see. Okay, so there's the basic light unit and the first modifier that I'm talking about in this series, and some of the pros and cons and features and quirks that I've already found with this equipment. So we're off to a running start. The next step will be talking about what can we do with one light. And we will cover that in the next video in the series. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you're interested. Ask me questions in the comments for things you want to see in this series. Until the next video, cheers.